Hi, everybody, and welcome back for another week of Your News Today. This one starting off on Columbus Day, the 12th day of October. So glad you could be a part of the program. A lot of ground to cover news-wise tonight. Weather-wise, wow. I mean, today was perfect. A perfect fall day. And the last of its kind, maybe for a while. In fact, tomorrow's daytime high of 68 degrees is the peak of the entire forecast. Where does it bottom out? 29 degrees. And frost, for the first time, makes its way into the forecast on more than one occasion. We've got some changes in store. I'll tell you about that at more detail in just a few moments. I covered over the course of the weekend, tragically, another fatal accident on the Mountain Parkway in McGoffin County. This one involved a female passenger on a three-wheeled motorcycle, a trike if you will, as the husband and wife were traveling eastward. We'll take you to the scene and try to understand what caused the collision with eyewitness accounts and other information in just a few moments. I've got a little bit of entertaining news that I just kind of fell into, so to speak. We've got Mountain Parkway news, we've got Route 30 news, we've got a whole lot of things to bring you before we leave you for the next half hour. Now tonight I just want to make mention of things that will be happening tomorrow, and that will also include a couple of notes as far as travel is concerned in the Mountain Parkway and McGoffin County area. Construction crews are placing about 850 tons of concrete beams that will create the new span across the Mountain Parkway in McGoffin County. Now they started today, and that will really take note tomorrow. They'll be setting 7 100-foot beams on the south side of the parkway at the Gifford Road. It's about 5 miles west of South. And of course, that will mean some short delays for travelers. Traffic will be stopped along the Mountain Parkway tomorrow as each of those beams are put into place. We'll have a camera. Be interesting to see. Historic, certainly. Delays, they say, will be limited to no more than 20 minutes, and work will begin around 9 o'clock in the morning. So if you're traveling on the Mountain Parkway tomorrow, keep that in mind. The bridge beam replacements are set to be done by this Wednesday, when the last 7 are to be placed across a 50. And if you'll bear with me, I realize that I've lost that video feed, and I apparently also have another problem that's causing that issue. So while I try to isolate that, which is going to be kind of hard to do while doing the show here in the middle, let me go ahead and go on over to some of our headlines. I have one input here that we can pull from, so I can go ahead with a couple of stories that I already have done and ready to present, and then I'll try to back up in a few moments while these are playing and have the situation fixed to some degree. So let me go ahead and skip forward on to one of our top stories this evening, and it tragically is another fatal auto accident on the Mountain Parkway. A couple from Henry County, I am told, was traveling east with another couple when tragedy struck. Eyewitness accounts also seem to go along with what the operator of one of the vehicles said was the cause to some degree, while the actual root of the cause is still unknown, while the end result would be, tragically, another death on the Mountain Parkway in McGoffin County. Eyewitness accounts match that of the operator of the trike that was involved in the crash, that 2 of the three-wheeled vehicles were traveling east on the Mountain Parkway near mile marker 64 near the McGoffin-Morgan County line when it suddenly veered to the left across the oncoming lane of traffic, and while it didn't hit any oncoming vehicles, it did go into the guardrail on the opposite side of the road, ejecting both the operator and its passenger.
Probably driving about 45, 50 mile an hour, and the 2 bikes were in front of us, and all of a sudden, the one in the back just turned a sharp left and hit straight into the guardrail. And the bike, the people, it catapulted them over the guardrail over into the field over there.
This angle shows the point of impact. You can see the skid marks here as the other couple was seen pulling away, but there are some skid marks there just to the shoulder, and just behind that over to the right you can see a bit of a bow in the guardrail. That's the impact point. And then much further over here to this point is where the female was thrown. There's still her riding jacket and some other materials left over to the side of the Mountain Parkway, while her husband was thrown but was ejected a shorter distance from the vehicle, but still a great deal off the Mountain Parkway from the collision with the guardrail. And Varney said what was nearly as scary as watching that collision with the motorcycle or trike with the guardrail was watching the vehicle then get back into the roadway and travel a significant distance, maybe a quarter, close to a half a mile down the mountain parkway into the direction of oncoming traffic.
The bike bounced back off, and when it did, it was probably still in gear, and it went right on up the road there. That scared me that it was going to maybe hit somebody else. I was blowing my horn to try to alert the people that were with them, but they were in front of them, and I don't know what caused them to realize that their friends wasn't with them anymore. He thought he saw the bike pull off the side, and he said he'd come back to it, and he couldn't find them nowhere. He didn't realize that it had this accident.
As for the operator of the three-wheel motorcycle, he was identified by the Sheriff's Department as Bobby Powers of Henry County. He, along with his wife and the other couple, were headed to Pikeville. While Mr. Powers could be seen talking to law enforcement and emergency personnel, he was believed to have suffered non-life-threatening injuries after the collision and ejection. His wife, however, was not as fortunate. She suffered massive trauma to one of her legs as well as other traumatic injuries as well. Her condition started to deteriorate while on scene, and while waiting for a Health Net Air Medical Service unit to be landed at a designated landing zone in the Mountain Parkway, which was shut down pending the accident scene and subsequent investigation, her condition continued to deteriorate. She went into full code and was given CPR for an extended amount of time on scene, and not stable enough to fly to a trauma center was taken by the TranStar ambulance service to the ARH Medical Center. Paramedics with the flight service also accompanying TranStar. She would, however, tragically be pronounced dead at that West Liberty facility after arrival. Going on to other headlines, while the root of my technical difficulty here is still yet to be determined, let me go on with some other news. This was a mess that resulted in all hands on deck, literally. Fire, rescue, law enforcement, anyone who could came on scene, along scene, to try to help divert traffic. An oil spill that happened this afternoon, just around the same time that school would be letting out. It was reported after it was noticed in the Route 7 area, and then if you trace it back south on 7, McGoffin County Sheriff's Deputy Jonathan Holbrook tells me that it went all the way to the Oakley Road area and a little bit beyond. The actual point of origin was still under investigation, but a miles-long oil spill, and you could see that it was thinner and lighter as the vehicle, which was dumping the material believed to be some sort of oil or residue onto the mountain parkway, was going faster. Well, it was a lighter trail and more narrow. However, when it stopped to slow down to apparently get on the mountain parkway, there was a large puddle or patch of it there at the intersection, and traffic had to be slowed to a standstill for the State Highway Department to put some oil dry for, well, possibly a mile's worth as they laid it over top of the spill and did so onto the mountain parkway, having to slow and stop traffic for a significant amount of time. Fortunately, a couple of things we can say: no accidents were reported that I'm aware of. Had it happened on a rainy day, well, certainly it could have caught a lot of drivers off guard much quicker. Our next headline, and I'll be kind of doing this little impromptu still, comes from the Red River Gorge, where we hear stories all the time about hikers and sightseers which get lost. Some stories have a good ending, a wonderful ending, as did last week when these two little boys were discovered after nearly 24 hours and overnight in the gorge. The 5- and 7-year-old cousins, one from Ohio, one from Indiana, well, slipped off in a moment's notice while the family was getting the tent and other campsite items and agendas ready, and spent the night eating sticks and sleeping on the ground. They were discovered by the Wolfe County Rescue Team the following day, almost 24 hours later, and they were just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed considering, and were ready to go back to the woods and spend the rest of the time and go back to the family reunion, which had been scheduled. Well, sadly, not all reports that come from the gorge come out to this degree. Some are tragic, and more often than not, that is the case. A beautiful place, one of the most beautiful places in the world, can also prove to be deadly. It's vast, and some of the terrain is as rough as you will ever find. And the Wolfe County Search and Rescue Team spent some time over the course of the weekend recovering the body of someone who had fallen from a very popular area. We understand that around 11 o'clock Saturday night, there was a report of a hiker who had fell from one of the most popular overlooks in the Red River Gorge. And it turns out that there was a nurse who was camping below the area, and was able to respond and confirm to emergency personnel and that of rescue and search crews as well that the fall victim had not survived. He's been identified as 30-year-old Michael Hacker of Ohio, who was there to take in the vast beauty of the Red River Gorge, but fell off of an overlook and plummeted to his death. The Wolfe County Rescue and Search and Rescue team spent several hours going into the area to retrieve his body and then see that it made it back out and was turned over to his family. The Wolfe County coroner once again identifying this hiker as 30-year-old Michael Hacker, who fell from Chimney Top Rock sometime around 11 o'clock on Saturday night. And you might recall I announced last week, and I'll remind you now, that Big Blue Madness is this Friday night. And for the first time ever, it's going to be televised in its entirety. And as I told you last week, Marlena Van Hoos from Johnson County is singing the national anthem, which makes the event this year a winner all the way around. Well, I got to take in the first-time opportunity for myself and Andrew to take in an NFL game, an impromptu trip to watch the Bengals take on the Seahawks this past Sunday. Our first ever was a delight, and it all started off on a right note. Just as we made it into our seats, I heard this. So how thrilled do you think we were? And look how thrilled those folks were with another outstanding performance by young Marlena. I was delightfully surprised. And for a first ever NFL game, what a game to go to. It was an incredible contest. And, of course, it all came down to one field goal in overtime that I just, by the luck of the draw, happened to catch. I didn't even know it happened until well after the game that the ball came off the upright just about the same time I was trying to catch a clip or a click of the shutter to catch Andrew. It was the loudest place I've ever been for a sports contest in any form or fashion. Reds games, nothing else I've ever been to, capped that afternoon as the Bengals went 5-0 against the Seattle Seahawks in overtime. And now you're looking at the first of what will be several cold fronts that are going to give us some big weather changes over the course of the next several days. And I'm talking big changes. And once again, my apologies for having to do an impromptu show in the fashion that I am. I'll be working a little later than normal even tonight to try to isolate the problem and have it repaired by tomorrow. So nevertheless, let me tell you about showers and storms. They're likely tonight, as you can see. Cloudy skies gradually becoming partly cloudy thereafter, but we will see a chance of showers, and you can expect that line to make its way, the strength of which I don't expect it to be quite as strong as it appears right now by the time it reaches us. But some showers followed by sunny skies tomorrow, 68 degrees tomorrow, definitely cooler, and the winds are going to stick around tomorrow, gusts upwards of 16 miles per hour tomorrow. Keep that in mind. Tomorrow night, a low of 39. And here's the short and sweet, since I can't give you any graphics. Wednesday, 67 and sunny. Wednesday night is our first bout with some frost, potentially, with a low of 35. We'll start off with a little patchy frost Thursday morning at 66 degrees. Thursday night's low is 50, so we're good there. Friday's high is 66 degrees, and Friday night's low, still clear skies, is in the upper 30s. We should be okay there. Saturday, I've got 56 degrees, another cold front, and that also gives us a 29-degree low Saturday night. Yeah, that's below freezing, folks, on Saturday night. It's going to be a cool weekend in store. We'll be in the mid-60s-degree range all week long, except for when we get to the weekend. And once again, 56 on Saturday and 56 on Sunday, and temperatures below and at freezing, respectively. I am not ready for it, and I don't like it. But like us all, I don't have much of a choice, do I? I've got a bear story I'm excited to bring you. I have got, of course, coverage tomorrow, the groundbreaking ceremony for the Route 30 bridge. We've also got coverage with the Mountain Parkway expansion project and a story that's developing, as I understand, with some information in-house now concerning a situation regarding the McGoffin County Library Board that I am told I should be able to report out on tomorrow's program. With that said, thank you for watching. Thank you for understanding with some technical difficulties tonight, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for more of Your News Today. Good night.